my name is Kalisha Buckhanon, and I'm the author of the novels Conception and Upstate. Thank you so much for checking me out. I guess I could tell you a little bit about me. I was born in 1977 in Kankakee, Illinois, and I was pretty much writing then when I was a child, very young, 5, 6 years old. Never ever imagined that I would be publishing novels. Actually, I did imagine that I'd publish novels. I just didn't think that that dream would actually come true. But I guess it shows you the power of vision and imagining and praying and putting things out into the universe, because I actually did see books on the shelf with my name on them when I was very young. Didn't know how to go about making that happen, but I've continued to work on writing, wrote plays in high school, wrote plays in college. I was an English major here at the University of Chicago, went to New York City and got my MFA in creative writing, just surrounded myself with writers, expanded my network, and one day I happened to find out that my dream was going to come true when I landed the agent Tracy Sherrod of Tracy Sherrod Literary Services. So here I am living my dream, and I'm really happy to be sharing my work with you today. I guess I could tell you a little of the quirky tidbits about me. I actually used to be a night owl, but now I'm going to bed much, much earlier, so I'm not like Kafka burning away at the midnight oil. I love to travel, been to several different countries. I would say my favorite city still is New York, with Paris close behind. And my favorite foods are sweet potato pie and macaroni and cheese, specifically my mother's sweet potato pie and any mac and cheese that an old black woman makes at a church. And I love movies, love jazz, have Billy and Louis Armstrong here in the background, love art, painting, poetry, and all of that. Consider myself an all-around Renaissance woman, and I'm really happy to be living my dream. So I guess I could tell you about these novels that I've written. All of my work pretty much comes from observations that I make about Black life and culture in America. I've pretty much dedicated my life to studying Black culture. I am a PhD student at the University of Chicago in English literature with a focus on Black women's literature and culture. But it's not just study for me, it really is my life. I was born in 1977 to a 15-year-old mother and a 16-year-old father. And while there were a lot of setbacks with that type of coming into the world, there were also a lot of blessings in that I was able to learn a lot about the world very early, learn what it is to struggle, but also learn how to appreciate the good things in life when they do come around. And I was blessed to have many, many, many great grandmothers, great uncles, great aunts, just a huge tribe, really, of people who helped to raise me. And these people taught me a lot about life, and they also told me a lot of stories. So I've been a storyteller from a very young age, and I really learned it in Kankakee, Illinois. My work, as I said, stems from my observations about Black life and culture, but specifically I'm interested in really taking characters and looking at the larger picture. I like to look at characters who are in situations that might be deemed unacceptable by society and kind of put a lens on the real factors that are contributing to their situations. It's no secret that there are a lot of stereotypical images of us out there. My goal with my work is to turn those stereotypes into full characters and full portraits. So with that being said, I will read from my second novel, Conception, which is my most recent novel that's out now in paperback from St. Martin's Press. This novel, I was interested in a 15-year-old girl who's pregnant and the child that she's carrying inside. Obviously, that's autobiographical. However, this is not an autobiographical novel. I was interested in the mentality of a 15-year-old pregnant girl And I was also interested in examining the value of each and every black child that comes on this planet. What ends up happening in the novel is a 15-year-old girl named Shavana, who lives in Chicago, finds out that she's unexpectedly pregnant by an older man and must decide what to do. What she doesn't know is that the child that she's carrying has been conceived before, actually several times, by many other women. And that this child has determined that this time, and through Shavana, it's actually going to make it onto the earth. Shavana has plans to abort her baby, but her baby is fighting to be born. Here's the beginning of the novel, which begins in the child's voice. From the inside looking out, life doesn't appear rose-colored when you know most people, including yourself, may one day die just like a rose. Dried out by trouble and time, fragile and shriveled, scent faded to odor, color bled away, shrunken parts vulnerable to each and every touch, head bowed and apologetic in demise. Now I know better than to mourn when my life ends before it begins. How much better to be cut from a bush and turned upside down immediately after bloom, preserved for a near eternity before a crumbling explosion of blossoms too ash-like to ever be put back together again. I'm content to remain like a flower seed, tumbling in and around and throughout the earth, languishing in possibility and potential, because birth always brings the consequences of confusion, sadness, disappointment, then death. But I could be a black child soon. One day, maybe. I haven't been born yet, but I want to be. I want to live in the world, clothed, fed, loved, guided, educated, magnificent, important, essential, and good. I want to contribute, do something important that might make the world go round just a little bit easier, change a few other lives when I finally get to live my own. But I must be born first. I've had chances, but I never made it. Suddenly, I see myself at 6 years old, jumping rope in a windstorm. Always before I come back, flashes of a future startle me right before I wake. These scenes in my mind break the promises they make. I'm never born, so I never get to see them happen in an actual life. This time, I see I'll have red, green, and black beads hanging on the end of my cornrows, locked in place with a tight tip of aluminum foil. When I bounce up from my toes, the beads smack me back in the face. An old woman, maybe my grandma, opens the front door and lets her cooking smells out. She hangs from the tattered screen with her purple duster flying open just enough to see all the brown stardust scattered between her breasts. Who is she, and why do I mind her? She has a cotton white rag wound around her head. She doesn't have to move her mouth to get me to throw down my rope. If I have to tell you one more time, is what her eyes say. I think about smacking my lips. I protest silently instead, leaving the rope she bought for me on the sidewalk, knowing it is vulnerable to the wind. Who is she? Will I ever find out? The roses planted in front of the house the old woman always dreamed of calling her own are being ripped from the ground, along with some planted basil and the dandelion weeds I give her for the dinner table on Sundays.